Escúchanos www.impau.tv y en frecuencia modulada 88.3 FM. Escuchas Unimpau Radio, música, variedad y noticias. Unimpau Radio, la radio virtual de la Fundación Universitaria Impau.
Sé lo que quiero. En 5 años me voy a ganar mi primer premio Simón Bolívar. Por eso decidí estudiar Comunicación Social y Periodismo en la Universidad Unimpau.
Estudia en la Universidad Unimpau, la primera escuela tecnológica en periodismo de América Latina. Llámanos al 332-3500. Con Unimpau lo puedes lograr.
Institución de Educación Superior sujeta a inspección y vigilancia por el Ministerio de Educación Nacional.
El mundo tiene alrededor de 7.000 millones de habitantes. 3.200 millones de personas tienen acceso a Internet, lo cual equivale al 40% de la población mundial. 2.000 millones utilizan redes móviles para navegar y 35 de cada 100 habitantes tienen una conexión de más de 5 megas de velocidad. Si estás aquí es porque haces parte de esta población y la web es tu mejor compañía. Por eso, no te desconectes. Conectes. Unimpau Radio tiene para ti un programa que te mantendrá sincronizado con lo que pasa en la web y el mundo de la tecnología. Sky 3. Todos los viernes de 5 a 7 p.m. hora Colombia. Conduce Juan David Oyuela.
Unimpau Fundación Universitaria te ofrece un programa técnico profesional, 10 carreras tecnológicas y 3 carreras universitarias. Ingresa unimpau.edu.co o en Twitter @Unimpau o llama a la línea 332-3500. Unimpau, 40 años formando profesionales.
De cara a entrevistas, trivias, notas, datos curiosos, experiencias, cultura y mucho más. Solo en De Cara al Mundo. Escúchanos a través de Unimpau Radio cada 15 días, los miércoles de 3 a 4 de la tarde.
Escuchas Unimpau Radio 88.3 FM.
From Bogota, this is Dispatch Colombia. I'm Desmond Bastide with the latest news and views from across the country for audiences around the world.
Dispatch Colombia.
You're listening to Dispatch Colombia. Hello and welcome to another episode of Dispatch Colombia. Thanks for listening. We hope you're enjoying the series so far. So, 7,000 FARC rebels have demobilized in Colombia. It took 4 years of negotiations and no vote on a referendum for peace and a final framework that ultimately passed Colombia's Congress. In January, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC rebels, began to disarm and demobilize. After 52 years of guerrilla fighting, the FARC concentrated its estimated 7,000 troops in 26 designated localities. Now, the peace plan calls for the disarmament process to run for 180 days, and former FARC members then begin their reintegration into civilian life. But where do the former FARC guerrillas go? To answer this question, and hopefully many more, we've got Hannes Kuhls, who's just returned from FARC demobilization camp in La Zona Veredad, Unias Randon, in the south of Meta, I believe,
that's
in
right.
Colombia. Thanks very much for coming in and talking to us, Hannes.
Thank you.
Tell us, first of all, explain your journey. You've just returned in the last 2 days. Where did you go and what happened?
Well, I went to the south of Meta. So if you look at the country of Colombia, that's south of Bogota. And I stayed practically 7 days with the FARC. So I lived with them practically. I shared their lives. So that was very interesting to see how they are living the process right now. because it's very recent. The demobilization process and demilitarization process just ended at the end of September. So practically they've been in this reintegration since January, but now it really starts because they handed in all their weapons and now they can start their real life. So that's basically for them a real change, you know. So I stayed there 7 days, as I was saying, and I was going together with an organization that is working around education and educational programs in that specific zones, because that is very important. And that's also why I wanted to go, to see how teachers and like students are working together in that zone, trying to make that reintegration work. But it's very, very recent, like I was saying, so it's very hard for them. It's a bit trial and error right now.
Just on your arrival, tell me what you saw when did you fly there from Bogota? How did the journey go?
I took a bus to the capital of Meta, that's called Villavicencio, and then we took a plane to La Macarena. We stayed there for like half an hour, and then we took a proper truck because the roads are still, well, basically unsafe because they are still controlled by FARC dissidents. So that's really like the most unsafe part of my journey, because once you arrive in the zones, it's very protected. You see people of United Nations, you see people of the FARC, and you see people of the government working there. So that are like basically the three parties that are working together on trying to get sustainable peace. So
does it look like like a war zone? If you know, a kind of like a refugee camp, or what kind of?
I think it's better than that, because the United Nations, they provided the goods, the materials to build proper, like a proper village. You can compare it with a proper village, but it's not a proper village. They have like a library, they have classrooms, yeah, they have places where they live, like proper homes.
Are they kind of tarpaulin huts, or what? How do the actual houses and the library, how do they all look? Are they just normal buildings that you see?
Yeah, they are normal buildings, but they still like finishing it. So now approximately 70% of the camp is finished.
And are the FARC building this themselves, or are they bringing somebody else in?
United Nations built them like the proper structures, like the big work,
yeah,
as I say. But now the FARC are finishing it.
Okay.
So what you see is like some FARC are painting the buildings, which is really cool.
Describe the painting. What is it? Just normal painting? Are they doing murals, or?
Yeah, it's like murals, but also with like quotes or things about peace. Like one thing was saying, literally translated, like we are constructing a new Colombia, like right here. But also about the FARC, like their leaders, they are painting. Also, they're talking about the revolution, that they will always win no matter what. Like that sort of thing that is really important for them. And that's like basically still happening right now. So it's still like the finishing process of those camps. The thing is that those camps will stay there. So most of the FARC will stay together, like in a group.
Okay.
And the peculiar thing is that the old campment is like basically
the old campment where their station was for.
They were practically living in the jungle.
Okay.
Like 500. We visited it, and like one of the FARC combatants, he joined us and gave us like a guide tour. Like 1 year ago, that was still war zone. You were talking about the war zone. Well, that was really like the government doing dropping bombs on the old camp, and approximately 500 FARC were living there, like at that moment. Now in the zone,
was it well camouflaged? I mean, is it up a mountain in between trees, or how?
It's really in proper jungle, so it's really hard to find, I think, and it's super basic. So if you compare the life they had 1 year ago and what they have right now,
They've toilets and running water
totally,
and this kind of thing.
Totally other world, and that is something that they really see, but they didn't realize that there was a world alive out there that was totally different than what they had right there, because they were living in an authoritarian system. They had their leaders, and if they gave like orders, they just followed them. It was very authoritarian and bureaucratical. And now you see that the leader of that camp is still in charge of the new camp.
Okay.
But he is really like willing to cooperate with United Nations, with all other organizations. So it's a change, but it's not like
how this leader that you met. Did he have to serve time, or because I know a number of the FARC leaders had to serve time in maybe in an open prison or in an educational setting. But do you know, did this guy have to, or
the leader of that camp didn't serve?
Okay.
He had amnesty,
okay,
like they call it, and a lot of other FARC that are living there also have amnesty. The amnesty law was in August confirmed by Santos, and it's like the majority of the FARC rebels. I don't know the exact number.
Sure. What was his like though? I mean, was he? You imagine that a leader of a former terrorist organization, in your mind is an aggressive, overbearing personality. What kind of?
Is he?
Okay.
And I spoke with other organizations, as like United Nations, and they were saying practically the same. But apparently, on the last day, he came up to us and he said like, okay, can we do the interview now? Okay. And everyone was like surprised, like, wow.
Yeah.
And when we sat down to talk, you realize that he knew for years that they would sign a peace agreement.
Okay.
And it was not the first one, but like this time it needed to be real, like. And also he was talking about education, that is very important in a peace process. Also because a lot of FARC that are living there don't have like a proper goal in their lives. They're not working. So education can be like a goal for them, a challenge.
Was he educated, or what kind of? Do you know what kind of education he had, or was self?
I don't know that, but for sure he will get. Well, he will have some kind of level of education because within the FARC they got education as well.
Before this before the peace.
That's one of the like struggles education is facing right now, because they had education. Like imagine that a guy from 50 years old goes to class and hears for the first time like proper about World War One, World War Two, like history in general. And I think that is very important that they learn about what war is and what damage it did, and also what peace can do. Because I think some people don't really know what peace means. They are in the camp and basically living their lives. And yeah, if they want a new life or have a new goal, they will follow the educational programs. But also, yeah, a part of them don't really feel that they want another life. They just want to stay in the camp together with the people they know their whole lives.
Yeah.
So that's basically a difficult thing to re-educate literally them, because they only know one side of the story.
I just want to go in a little bit, just to maybe, if people listening, to explain how distant these people from normal society, reality in lots of ways. Did you find out where these people came from to join the FARC, and how long they were in the jungle, and did they come from some kind of relative normality in a village nearby, or what's their background?
Well, most of them came from nearby, but others came from other departments and like were first in another zona veredal, and then like for some reason, went to another zone.
Moved, like as in a normal army situation where you get moved to a different battalion.
That's it. Basically, if you listen to their stories why they joined the FARC, they are all saying that they entered voluntary, like on a voluntary basis. But if you like talk things through, you realize that, for example, they lost a relative, or their friends joined the FARC, or there was no work, no future. So what they do, they find it attractive, like nice to carry a weapon, and basically, they entered the FARC because they had no other choice.
Yeah,
they say it is like on a voluntary basis,
but it wasn't like we think of someone that joins the FARC. I've seen images in some of the demobilization camps of Che Guevara and other revolutionaries like that. But really, it wasn't ideological. They just literally had nothing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you were talking to them, do they feel that it was that they've achieved something in their time in the FARC?
Yeah, they will always tell you that they achieved something. Some things in the more than 20 interviews I did really come back, like some, I don't know, the revolution that is now and that we need to continue no matter what. The FARC is transforming in a political party, but they still want to be like, they still have their values, you know.
Which are?
It's, like liberty and freedom, and but that is not, how to say, related directly with peace.
Okay.
They want freedom no matter what. So if peace is not part of that, well,
but for these people, you said that it would be good for the government to move into these areas, but in some ways you see that...
Well, they are there, but they are not providing enough materials to, how to say, to sustain that process.
But if you see the Colombian army rolling in with tanks and artillery or machines, their cars, their vans or whatever, I'm sure the reaction is obviously going to be hostile from a lot of these former FARC members.
Yeah, sure, but I mean like soft power.
Okay,
like
right.
Really, because I talked with the FARC leader, so you can get into a conversation with him. So yeah, that's something that the government is not doing.
Okay.
And
when you did talk to him, when you had that meeting, he obviously you said that he was open to a conversation at the end. What did he reveal? What did he say to you?
Well, just like basic stuff, like things that I am like a bit repeating. The government that is still not present enough, that education is very important, but that also other things are very important, like health, improving their life standards, like reintegrating into the community, because a lot of people, ex-combatants, really have fear to go back to community, because they have been in those groups for like 20, 30 years or something. So they really like have fear of what the people of the community will say, what the people of the community will ask. One ex-combatant was saying like, I fear every day, like if I go out, that I will die, because of, you know, the world out there that they don't know, and the community don't know the FARC as well. So
but if they move out into the community, obviously they don't have a badge on their head saying FARC, but would you say their mannerisms and behaviour are unique in any way to anyone else, or like I think it conjures up an image of these people wandering out of the jungle and they're like, what is this in the metropolis? But
no, it's totally not like that. I think they're just very dependent people.
Okay.
Living in group, and if they go out into a community, of course, like, people don't see at first, like, oh yeah, that's the enemy or something. But yeah, the city nearby is like a 5-minute drive.
Okay.
So people know that the camp is there. So yeah, I think that changes somehow the mindset of the city. But what is happening really recent is that people of the community are coming into the camp of the FARC, doing educational programs together, doing workshops together. And I think that is an example of how sustainable peace can work in Colombia. This could be an illustration of how sustainable peace that really needs to evolve on a local basis. So yeah, I think that's a good sign. But still, I'm saying, like, the educational programs, a lot of people, they just want to start working, earn money, and not finish their education. But if you look at the educational level of the FARC, it's really below level. Like, if you compare it, the FARC and people that are living in rural sites, countrysides, it's a difference of years. And if you look at the level of education of the FARC and the level of education in urban, like here in Bogota, it's like a total other country.
We'll delve into that a little bit later, but we're going to take a break now. Willie, we'll go to a break there. You're listening to Dispatch Colombia. We're here with journalist Hannes Cools, who's just returned from a FARC demobilization camp. Back soon. You're listening to Dispatch Colombia.
Escuchas Unimpau Radio 88.3 FM.
Sé lo que quiero. En 5 años me voy a ganar mi primer premio Simón Bolívar. Por eso decidí estudiar comunicación social y periodismo en la Universidad Unimpau.
Estudia en la Universidad Unimpau, la primera escuela tecnológica en periodismo de América Latina. Llámanos al 332-3500. Con Unimpau lo puedes lograr.
Institución de Educación Superior sujeta a inspección y vigilancia por el Ministerio de Educación Nacional.
De cara al mundo. Entrevistas, trivias, notas, datos curiosos, experiencias, cultura y mucho más. Solo en De cara al mundo. Escúchanos a través de Unimpau Radio cada 15 días, los miércoles de 3 a 4 de la tarde. Programa que trae a tus personajes y artistas para conocer más de sus vidas.
En la cabina. Escúchanos en Unimpau Radio, www.unimpau.tv y 88.3.
En la cabina.
En Unimpau Radio, vive la felicidad.
Vive la felicidad.
Un programa motivacional para la promoción y aplicación de la felicidad en el ámbito laboral. Escúchanos todos los jueves a las 10 de la mañana a través de Unimpau Radio. Conduce Estefanía Ruiz y Javier Moreno. Vive la felicidad.
Tu piel roja radio. Deportes, actualidad, datos, viajes, anécdotas, entrevistas, concursos. Todo lo que te apasiona en un solo lugar. Tu piel roja radio, lunes a viernes, 12 a 1 de la tarde.
El mundo tiene alrededor de 7.000 millones de habitantes. 3.200 millones de personas tienen acceso a Internet, lo cual equivale al 40%. Conectes. Unimpau Radio tiene para ti un programa que te mantendrá sincronizado con lo que pasa en la web y el mundo de la tecnología. Sky 3. Todos los viernes de 5 a 7 p.m. hora Colombia. Conduce Juan David Oyuela.
Oye, ¿y esos pitos?
Los del son de la 39.
¿Cómo así?
Sí, señor. El espacio musical con la mejor salsa de todos los tiempos. Salsa de calidad.
Pero ¿y eso quién lo dice?
Lo dice al que la salsa sí le pega en Bogotá. Hola, Vicente.
Hola amigos de Unimpau, soy Vicente Moros Ortega, el que a la salsa sí le pega, y los invito a escuchar El Son de la 39 con Neider, con Sebastián y todo su equipo de trabajo. Sigan disfrutando de la buena salsa aquí, en este su espacio favorito.
Si lo dice él,
póngale la firma.
Y escuchen bien, porque es la última vez que les enseño. Ahí va.
Todos los jueves de 1 a 2 de la tarde, a Impau Radio llega numeral modo relax.
Modo relax. Modo relax.
La Cigarra, tu punto de encuentro. El espacio donde escucharás a tus artistas favoritos y nuevos talentos de todos los géneros musicales, con reportajes, crónicas y entrevistas.
En La Cigarra hablaremos con invitados de temas culturales, económicos, educativos y te informaremos sobre actividades y datos curiosos para que te programes con los planes que tiene tu ciudad.
Conéctate todos los miércoles de 4 a 6 de la tarde, con repetición los sábados por la señal de Unimpau Radio.
Síguenos por nuestras redes sociales como La Cigarra Online en Twitter, Facebook, Instagram y YouTube. Escríbenos a lacigarraonline@gmail.com.
La Cigarra, tu punto de encuentro. Dirige Edison Fonseca.
Escuchas. Unimpau Radio. 88.3 FM.
This is Dispatch Colombia. Join Desmond Bastide every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Impau Radio with the latest news and views from across the country for audiences around the world.
Dispatch Colombia
por Unimpau Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Dispatch Colombia, where we're joined by journalist Hannes Cools. He's just returned from a FARC demobilization camp in Lisbon. When you are talking about their re-education, how possible is this going to affect their future lives, or do you think they'll remain in this environment within the FARC for the rest of their lives, in this demobilization camp, if not around it?
I think already some members, ex-combatants, left the camp. So, well, I'm pretty sure of it. Now there are approximately 150 still living there, and 99 of them are doing the educational program. I think it might change their life because a lot of people that are following those educational programs, they really feel that it's needed to do that, no matter how old they are, just to get the degree, because when they enter the camp,
it's actually a degree that they're going to, a university degree.
When they enter the camp, they need to do some kind of test to see how good or what kind of level their education is, and on base of that, they are put into cycles. It's called, and you have. Well, I'm not gonna be too technical about it, but it's cycle 1 till 6, and at the end of 6 you get your degree. So with that degree, they have more chances to get a job, you know. But still, some people are not following the educational programs and have, like, I don't know, cycle 1, and that's like, you can compare it with primary school.
Okay.
So it's really, really low. Also, people in the camp, I think there were 3 or 4, do not know how to read or write. So that's like starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Like,
what ages are they?
40.
Okay, right.
Approximately. So one teacher is basically teaching cycle 1 and cycle 2, and the group that cannot read or write. So that's something. Normally you get like one teacher per cycle, but that's not like happening right now, and that's also what I was talking about, that the government is still not providing enough teachers or whatever. I also attended a meeting of the 5 teachers, because there are only 5 teachers in La Zona Veredal, and they are really also struggling with their role of a teacher, because sometimes they get questions that they cannot answer.
Like what?
Otherwise, well, I don't know. They were talking about like English, that some people really want to learn more English, but the teachers don't have a real education in English. So basically the book is saying that they need to get English, but the teachers do not know how to teach it. So that's basically something, if ex-combatants want to learn more English, which could be important, I don't know, that's not happening.
We were talking just during the break about technology, and we all have access to mobile phones. We take it for granted. Television. So how much access to the outside world do these former combatants have?
Well, for over some months they didn't have like proper connection with the world, but now you see that people are inventive, and the head of the local shop there's one local shop, like really small, just like a fridge and a closet with stuff in it, where you can buy like water and basic stuff. She invested in internet, so everyone is paying her to get like the internet for one day.
So they all have phones, presumably.
Yeah, most of them have, and most of them pay for the internet, and most of them have Facebook and WhatsApp and whatever. So they're really like in connection with the outside world. I'm not saying that they really have like connection with people in cities. I think they mostly have connection with other FARC or people they know long ago. But really a lot of ex-combatants don't have a connection still with their family. They don't know where they are out. So some know, they live in that city, or maybe in that city, hopefully. So it's still...
It's because they left at such a young age that they have had no contact. Because in my mind, I guess...
or they died, or, you know, they don't have parents or brothers anymore, but like other family, uncles or whatever.
And you said the local town is near. How the distance we're talking about the local town, is it
5-minute drive?
5 minutes.
It's really close.
So, you know, in my mind, I suppose I have this image of John. John is in the FARC, and he's got some time off, so he comes down to the town, and he meets Mary, who they struck up a relationship and now they're married, or like what integration is there and between
the city and the the town and the camp. Well, it really is starting like we were in a restaurant with the other organizations, and we saw like one
with the
guy,
NGOs.
One guy of the camp working in the kitchen there. So you see that it's like it's going very slowly and in small steps, that people from the FARC are going to the city and or town and find a job there.
But this wouldn't have happened before the peace.
No.
So this is
impossible.
All new. And but would there have been some hesitation from the people in the town at giving a job to a former FARC combatant, or are people practical about this kind of thing, and they need someone for the kitchen, and the peace is here now, so I just need to get on with it?
I think basically if we're talking about employment in towns, like for over whole Colombia, there's not a lot of employment. So I think this guy just got lucky and got the job. But I think they could be practical. But imagine like this conflict is hopefully coming to an end, like after 50, 60 years. that people are still hesitant against those kind of members. I don't want to put them into one group, but they are still, they still are. You could reduce them to what they have done in the past.
Like let's be clear about it. I mean, these people probably murdered someone, and that's obviously in the minds of most civilians that are meeting someone that was in the FARC. You've probably killed one, a dozen, we don't know. And employing them in your kitchen is obviously a step forward, a leap of faith.
Yeah, true. Absolutely.
There's no way around it as well. Coca production is massively increased over the last 12 months. I mean, we discussed it recently on Dispatch Colombia as well, but the coca production has gone up for a reason as well, that is a belief that a lot of the leaders of the FARC told local people to start growing coca because they were able to wedge more money out of the government if they had
it's complexifying the reintegration process, because farmers, they don't have other alternatives, so they just go on with it because they can make a lot of money out of it. And the thing that they don't have an alternative is basically the most stupidest thing to do, because that is like one of the core problems of the Colombian conflict. That's also why the violence, like in the 80s, gone up like really, really badly, and other groups like started to grow coca as well, and that is still happening right now. So I think if the government and other organizations, they want to, I think organizations want to change the coca production, but there are no alternatives, like I was saying. So if we are still like establishing that system, like you can go as a tourist to Colombia and make your own cocaine. Like that is something so controversial. But tourists are also still doing it. So I think, and that's also one of the reasons why the coca production went up, is tourism in Colombia is going up as well. So tourists are coming to Colombia and they really want to live the experience, like Narcos-wise, trying cocaine and whatever. So that system is reliving, but instead of like they are eradicating it.
And with regards to the FARC and local farmers producing coca, did you see any connection? Because there's been lots of reporting about former FARC members now making money out of the production along the assembly line somewhere along the way. Obviously maybe not growing it, but as part of the channels, transporting it or whatever. Have you heard or seen any of that? Was there any the NGOs concerned about former FARC members, or?
Well, in that specific zone, not really, but like I was saying, some of the roads are still controlled by FARC dissidents.
Okay.
And I think if you would ask them, they still have that system.
When you say roads are controlled, you're talking about checkpoints here between areas, and you have to go through a number of those.
Like they really give you like a paper of like a piece of paper saying that okay, you paid this amount, so you can drive this road.
How much are they charging?
10,000.
Okay,
but
which is
like the paper was saying 1,000, but they like corrected it to 10,000. Like.
The paper was saying, so it's supposed to be 2,000, and they just script it out, and do they keep some for themselves, presumably, or whatever. And these people are standing there with guns, and they're
one was standing there with guns,
and they're in an army.
One gun.
They're in an army uniform, or they're just civilians.
Yep.
So he's standing there with a gun and dressed in normal clothing, and. The roadblock says what? What does it? Nothing.
The roadblock consists of one rope.
Right.
So it's very like trial and error, very basic. and they're just standing there, and you need to pay.
And is there a watchtower or nothing?
No.
And this is surrounding an area that was controlled by the FARC, is there? And so it's
like it's always been controlled by the FARC.
So
that part.
So if the government decided, right, there's peace now, we're just going to roll in our trucks and this is what would happen?
Yeah, I think that would not happen.
Okay,
like,
right. It's just
that would not. That would like be even worse than
aggravating the situation.
Yeah.
Okay, this is still so. While there's peace, these areas are still very much in the hands of the FARC, and that's not going to change. And if you live inside this area, you effectively are under the control of FARC, and presumably still paying, a protection racket of some sort is going on in these places too.
I don't know that specifically, but obviously that's a right thing to say. That still the FARC is in charge, but don't have weapons anymore. But that's also something, like they handed in their weapons, but there are stories, but they're not confirmed yet, that FARC are now making money. They handed in their weapons, but with money they earned, they buy new weapons.
Okay,
so
the guy standing at the roadblock had a gun. So was like he's described as a former FARC combatant who's not in the demobilization camp because he's a dissident. He left the FARC. So where does he fit into the peace agreement, or is this
he doesn't fit in. That's the problem. That's the problem. And the thing is, if you look at the numbers of dissidents, you have a very renowned think tank here in Bogota that published a study last month saying that 400 of the FARC deserted. And mostly, if you look at the profiles, it's mostly leaders or people that were not the normal guerrilla, because they could not give in their weapons or give in their weapons and their authority to United Nations or to the government. And the latest report, last week, published by International Crisis Group, they are speaking about 1,000 dissidents. If that is true, that is really
well, it's a huge number.
Yeah.
If we talk about our first number, 7,000
who
FARC
demobilized,
rebels, who demobilized, and then you've got 1,000 of these, so 1/7 of the group. But so I'm interested to talk a bit more about this guy. I mean, it wasn't just one. There were many different roadblocks. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So how do the NGOs explain? They're like, this is the peace area. We're really delighted with what's going on here. Hold on a second. Have you got 10,000? I just need to pay this guy. How does that compute?
It's super ambiguous. I don't know. The bizarre thing was that when we came to the La Zona Veredal, there were no blocks.
Okay.
But when we turned back, then suddenly they were there.
Oh, okay, so suddenly the FARC leadership have been told the NGOs are coming with a load of journalists. Can you just clear up the roads, please? And
I don't know how it goes, but
right.
I don't know. They are just out there when they feel they need to. So, I don't know.
But how? I mean, you can answer the question, I suppose. But if I decided that I was going to go down to this area in Meta, and I was going and drive into this area and see how I get on, what would happen? I mean, is my life in danger, or once I bring enough money with me, I'm okay, or what? Is it totally naive?
Combination of the two, I think.
Right. Okay.
Because and that I haven't told you yet. So if you leave La Macarena, that was where we were flying to. It's really a touristy place.
Which people might know it by Canacristales, which is the river that turns pink and yellow, which you see all over the promotions for Colombia at the moment. Go to this place; it's really beautiful. And then give us an idea of distance from where you were to this famous river.
Yeah, I think it was approximately 70 kilometers.
So this is a highly publicized Lonely Planet destination, and it's 70 kilometers from this guy and his gun, right?
No, like really, if you drive out of town, like the wrong way, like not the way of Caño Cristales, you met checkpoints of paramilitaries first.
Okay. Which is different. To explain again, these paramilitaries are not the FARC. These are the a group of people well before the peace who got together trying to get rid of FARC out of areas that the government couldn't control. To just explain briefly what they were.
Yeah. So first you meet the paramilitaries. So if you would drive up with your hired car, you would first need to deal with the paramilitaries, and then you obviously need to tell them why you're driving that road, because it's only going like there's 4 hours nothing,
and you're heading towards Ecuador. If we were looking on the map, is this the kind of direction that you'd be, or towards the Pacific?
Yeah, a bit more to the Pacific.
Okay.
But it's still a long way down. So and then I don't know, if you're lucky you don't have checkpoints, but if you enter the zone you need to first you have checkpoints as well. So they having a walkie-talkie and talking with the leader of the camp, like saying there's this guy, can we let him in or not? They have like some kind of, not gate, but
block. One of these. I don't actually know the name, but when you walk into a car park and the thing lifts up. Right. Okay. I take it it's manual. It's not.
It's manual. So, I think it's tough to get in without an NGO or an organization, because they are really keen on like only those specific organizations and the government organization, which is called the Agency for Reincorporation, and FARC themselves. So it's only a thing that
just finally before we finish, the NGOs that are working there, I mean, there is some criticism sometimes that the NGOs can navel gaze a bit, and that they're in this area so long that they can't really see the woods from the trees. In your experience, has that happened yet, or what was your experience of the NGOs?
Well,
without treading on too many toes.
The thing is, they are really like working together. If we were having lunch or whatever in the camp, we were talking with people of United Nations, of people of the Norwegian Refugee Council, of the person of the government. So they are really working together, but they see that it's happening and they see that they are trying to help, so they let them.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Are they just seeing? I mean, are a lot of these workers Colombian or Westerners, or like from Europe or
Colombian?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's basically a good thing, because most of them know the country and know what the problems are. I was basically the only person. The only person that was not Colombian out there. So that was for me also very interesting, like very interesting area to see how the FARC live, because their life is totally different.
And I mean, a lot of them would never have met a foreigner before in some cases. What was their reaction, the FARC members now I'm talking about, to you?
They were really open.
Okay.
They were really open. I didn't expect it. Normally, as a journalist, you need to really look for your interviews. But now people were coming to me, like saying, okay, let's do an interview tomorrow. I'm going to tell you my story. And that's also a hopeful illustration, I think, that they really want to talk about it. Well, they're not talking about everything, obviously. But the thing that they are talking about it, and that they get education, and that also organizations are doing workshops about what like on their future, like how do you see yourself in 10, 15 years?
And what there were also any in particular that struck you for as interesting? What were they see then 10 years?
Well, they it was like combination of writing and drawing.
Okay.
And the thing that struck me was the peace dove that was practically
iconic,
like in every drawing.
Okay.
More or less.
Is it on the murals and the walls outside the houses?
Yeah.
They're drawing. So this was to explain. A lot of the politicians in the country, you see on the lapels of their suits or their clothes, you see this peace dove. It's become a very much emblem of the peace process. I mean, not to sound churlish about it, but it is really it's the brand of the peace
symbol.
Yeah. And so this drawing was in many of their
and also they were saying like hopefully I have a job and I am more independent than I am now. So I think some of them really realize like now that there is a life out there and that they really can change their life doing education, because the education can like close the gap between urban and rural, and that's like reducing the most important problem of Colombia, inequality. And that is what the government really needs to realize. They may not, or they cannot curb the budget for education because they're talking about right now of curbing the budget of education, which would be the biggest mistake. Because they really, those zones need the education, need those organizations on the ground, need the government on the ground to go and construct sustainable peace in a local way.
And that's what you feel is needed to continue this process and develop it further, is money, and with that money you think education is the primary importance. Okay, well, Anna Schools, a journalist who's just visited the FARC demobilization camp outside Meta in the southwest of Colombia. Thanks for coming in and joining us on Dispatch Colombia. If you've any stories you'd like to bring to our attention, you can get in touch at dispatchcolombia@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at dispatchcolombia and let us know what you think of the program as well. That's it for this week. We'll speak to you again soon. Thanks for listening.
5 ejes, estamos trabajando